Have you ever noticed how some people walk into a room and automatically command respect, while others go completely unnoticed? What you're about to discover today will forever change how others perceive you, because there are three words that, when spoken with conviction, make people respect you instantly, even those who previously underestimated you. Imagine being able to enter any environment and feel how the energy shifts in your favor, how people who once ignored you now want your attention, how those who look down on you now see you with different eyes. It's not magic, it's deep psychology. It's what Carl Jung discovered after decades studying human behavior and power dynamics. And today you're going to learn it. I don't care. These are the three words that will change your life, but it's not just about saying them. It's about embodying them, living them from the deepest part of your being. And to understand their true power, first you need to comprehend why most people never get the respect they deserve. Before we dive deeper, make sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell, because every week we share powerful psychological tools that no one else is teaching, content that could literally transform your life. The problem is that we live in a constant state of reaction. Jung explained this perfectly. Every time you react impulsively to something or someone, you give away your power. It's like handing the remote control of your emotions to others. Someone criticizes you, you react. Someone ignores you, you react. Someone provokes you, you react. And in this pattern of constant reaction, you become predictable, manipulable, and above all vulnerable. How many times have you felt like you lose control when someone says something that affects you? How many times have you spent hours or days thinking about a response you should have given in the moment? This is the trap of reactivity. It keeps you trapped in situations that have already passed, or to people who don't deserve your energy. Jung spoke about uncontrolled emotions as a reflection of our internal shadows. When something affects you disproportionately, it's not because that something or someone has real power over you, but because within you there's something you haven't resolved, yet something that this person or situation is touching. And as long as you don't master this shadow, you'll continue being vulnerable to anyone who knows where to press. But there's a way to break this cycle, learning not to react. Imagine this: someone tries to provoke you, says something to make you feel less, launches a comment designed to destabilize you, and you simply look at them calmly without your face changing a millimeter, and instead of jumping to defend or justify yourself, you say with serenity, "I don't care." The power of these words lies in what they represent: the ability to choose your battles, to consciously decide what deserves your energy and what doesn't, because not everything deserves a reaction, and definitely not everything deserves your attention. Do this exercise right now. Think of the last time someone made you feel bad. Relive that moment. How did you react? Did you defend yourself immediately? Were you left speechless? Did you think about it for days? Now imagine that instead of your usual reaction, you had simply said, "I don't care," and moved on with your day. Can you feel the energy shift? Can you notice how the power returns to you? Next time someone tries to provoke you, pause for 5 seconds before responding. In those 5 seconds, ask yourself, does this really deserve my energy? And if the answer is no, which it almost always will be, simply say, "I don't care," and walk away. You don't need to explain, you don't need to justify, you don't need to convince anyone of anything. Your peace of mind is worth more than any argument. Repeat this phrase every morning in front of the mirror: my energy is valuable, and I only give it to what and who truly deserves it. Watch how over time you become more selective about what you allow to affect you. And while you practice this first step toward your transformation, don't forget that we're building something powerful here. Now, when you master the art of not reacting, you'll be ready for the next level of personal power. There's an uncomfortable truth that few people understand: attachment is the greatest weakness a person can have. Everything that binds you, everything you have difficulty letting go of, everything you desperately cling to is exactly what keeps you vulnerable and what prevents others from respecting you. Jung clearly explained this when he spoke about the individuation process. You cannot become a complete and powerful person if you continue chained to your past, to toxic relationships, to situations that no longer serve you, or to people who don't value you. Think about it this way: when you cling to someone who no longer wants to be with you, when you insist on a job where they don't value you, when you refuse to let go of an idea that no longer works, what message are you sending to the universe? You're saying, I don't believe I deserve something better, so I settle for what I have even if it hurts me. And this message isn't just received by the universe, but by all the people around you. They can see it in your body language, they can feel it in your energy, they can notice it in the way you speak, how you move, how you relate to the world. Ask yourself, how many times have you stayed in a relationship you knew was going nowhere just because you were afraid of being alone? How many times have you maintained friendships that drained you because you feared not finding new people in your life? How many times have you accepted less than you deserve because you're terrified of uncertainty of the unknown? Here's the truth that changed my life and will change yours. Nothing you have to beg to stay is worth it. Nothing you have to force is really yours. Everything that costs you peace is too expensive. The people who are truly respected, those who have that aura of power and magnetism that attracts others, have learned to let go quickly. They don't stay where they're not valued. They don't insist where there's no longer reciprocity. They don't fear losing because they know that what's meant for them will never need to be forced. And here's where the power of the 3 words comes in. I don't care. When you learn to say, I don't care, to what no longer serves you, to what hurts you, to what drains you, you begin to recover your power. Because it's not just a phrase, it's a declaration of independence. It's a way of telling the world that you decide what has value in your life. Imagine for a moment what it would be like to free yourself from everything that weighs on you today. The relationship, where you're always the one giving that friendship, where you're always the one calling that job, where they never recognize your value. Can you feel the lightness, the freedom, the relief? Carl Jung said that what you deny subjugates you, but what you accept transforms you. Letting go isn't losing. Letting go is accepting that certain people were destined only to teach you something, not to stay. Accepting that some opportunities weren't for you. Accepting that there are cycles that must close so you can move forward. Do this exercise. Think of something you have difficulty letting go of today. It could be a relationship, a recurring thought, a situation from the past. Now ask yourself, if I simply stop carrying this, how will I feel? Imagine the lightness, the peace, the tranquility. That feeling of freedom is proof that the right thing is to let go. And every time you feel the temptation to cling to something you know you should let go, repeat these words. I don't care about continuing to carry this. I trust that what's meant for me will come without effort. Next time you feel the need to insist where they don't value you, instead of begging for attention or affection, simply say, I don't care, and walk away. Watch what happens when you don't chase what wants to leave. You'll discover that most of the time, when you let go, the universe surprises you with something better. Want to know if you really need to let go of someone or something? Take this test. Imagine they're no longer in your life. Observe how you feel with that idea. If you experience more peace than anxiety, you already have your answer. And while you incorporate this second step in your transformation, remember to share this video with that friend you know needs to hear this. Sometimes the person we care about most is trapped in a cycle of attachment that prevents them from seeing their own worth. Help them by sharing this message that could change their life. When you master the art of letting go, your energy changes. You no longer live in a state of scarcity, but of abundance. People perceive you differently because the security of someone who doesn't fear losing is magnetic. You have more control over your life because you stop clinging to what doesn't serve you well. Letting go is the ultimate proof of self-confidence, but there's something more powerful than letting go, something that will take you to the next level of respect and personal power. In a world where everyone wants to be seen, heard, and constantly validated, the person who has mastered the art of silence has an incomparable advantage. The people who are truly respected, those who radiate that inexplicable magnetism, understood something most never comprehend, not revealing too much, not reacting impulsively, and not giving unnecessary explanations, transforms you into someone others can't decipher. And what they can't decipher intrigues them. Carl Jung spoke about the importance of introspection and how the most powerful people are those who control their own narrative. They don't need to announce what they think, what they feel, or what they'll do. They simply act, observe, and let the results speak for them. But most people have no control over their mouth or their energy. They talk too much, explain too much, constantly try to justify themselves, and every unnecessary word they say is a piece of information others can use against them. Think about it this way. When you're a person who's too accessible, predictable, and talkative, you lose attractiveness. Your value diminishes because others feel they already know everything about you. There's no mystery, no depth, nothing that makes them want to discover more. Have you noticed how the most interesting people are those who don't reveal everything at once, those who maintain a certain mystery, who don't need to prove their worth, who feel comfortable in silence? And here's where, again, the power of saying, "I don't care" manifests in all its magnitude, because these three words, when spoken with conviction, not only stop any attempt at manipulation or provocation, but also establish a clear boundary. There are parts of you, your thoughts, your feelings, that aren't available to just anyone. The less you reveal, the more control you have. Silence protects you. Not everyone needs to know what you think. Not everyone deserves access to your inner life. When you start talking less and observing more, you begin to see the hidden game behind every conversation. When you stay quiet, you become more unpredictable. No one knows what you really think, and that gives you an advantage. Others respect you more because someone who doesn't explain themselves all the time projects confidence. Moreover, listening more and talking less allows you to identify hidden intentions, see patterns that previously went unnoticed, understand power dynamics that were invisible to you. How can you use mystery to your advantage? First, don't reveal your plans until they're already underway. Many people fail because they announce their moves before executing them. Don't warn, just do. Second, don't explain your decisions. You don't have to justify yourself to anyone. If you made a decision, stick to it and let the results speak for you. Control your body language. Mystery isn't just in what you say, but in how you behave. A neutral face, a confident look, and pauses before speaking generate more impact than 1,000 words. Learn to enjoy silence. Don't fill every moment with unnecessary words. Truly powerful people feel comfortable in silence because they know they don't need to prove anything. Make people wonder more about you. Don't tell everything immediately. Leave room for curiosity. Interest increases when there's something to discover, and when someone asks an uncomfortable question, don't answer. Immediately take a moment to think, to measure the terrain. That pause makes others feel that what you're going to say has weight and value. Don't share your weaknesses with just anyone. People can use that information against you. Make sure those who have access to your vulnerability are people who truly deserve it. Practice this for a week. Respond with fewer words. Don't explain more than necessary. Be clear, concise, and direct. Observe more than you speak. Analyze how people act when you don't reveal all your information. Use pauses in your conversations before responding. Breathe deeply. Maintain control, and don't announce your plans before their reality. Let people be surprised by your actions, not by your words. And if someone tries to pressure you to reveal more than you want, simply say, "I don't care to share that," and change the subject. You don't need to give explanations. You don't need to justify yourself. Your privacy is your right. Can you imagine how your life would change if you started applying this today? How people who previously took you for granted would start seeing you with different eyes. How those who try to control you would suddenly feel disconcerted by your new attitude. While you incorporate this third step in your transformation, remember to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any video in this series where I share the most powerful psychological tools that no one else is teaching. When you control your information and don't reveal everything immediately, people start seeing you differently. Some will feel uncomfortable because they can't read your intentions. Others will admire you because you project a security that few have, and some will try to decipher you because the unknown is always more attractive than the predictable. But there's something more that makes truly respected people different. They not only know when to be quiet, they also know when to prioritize themselves above everything and everyone. Most people live putting others first. They do everything to please, to fit in, to be accepted. And this is the mistake that makes them weak, because every time you put yourself last, you give someone control over your life. Carl Jung spoke about the importance of individuation, the process of becoming a complete and independent person. But you can't achieve this if you continue sacrificing yourself for people who wouldn't do the same for you. Truly respected people understood this. When you prioritize yourself, the power shifts in your favor. The problem is we were taught to feel guilty for thinking about ourselves from a young age. We're told that being selfish is wrong, that we should give, that we should sacrifice ourselves. But there's a big difference between being selfish And having self-love selfishness is demanding without giving. Self-love is giving, but without allowing yourself to be drained. And here's the key: when you start prioritizing yourself, people perceive you differently. You stop being an easy option. You stop being someone they can use when it's convenient for them. You become someone with standards, and people respect those who have standards. Those who don't prioritize themselves will always be an option, never a priority. If you constantly sacrifice your time, your energy, and your well-being for others without receiving the same in return, the only thing you're achieving is training people to take you for granted. Think about it. If you're always available, they'll never value you. If you always say yes, they'll assume you have no life of your own. If you don't respect yourself, no one else will. Truly respected people learn to set boundaries not because they're cold or distant, but because they know their energy is valuable and they don't give it to just anyone. And what does this have to do with our 3 magic words? Everything, because when you learn to say, I don't care, to what doesn't add to you, to what drains you, to what takes more than it gives, you're declaring that you prioritize yourself. You're establishing that your well-being, your peace of mind, or energy are more important than pleasing others or fulfilling expectations that aren't yours. Learn to say no without explanations. You don't have to justify why you don't want to do something. As simple, I don't care, thank you, is enough. Stop giving without reciprocity. If you notice you're always the one giving, the one making an effort, the one doing all the work, stop, observe who's really there for you. Cut access to those who don't value you. Not everyone deserves a place in your life. If someone only shows up when they need something, eliminate them from your circle. Invest time in yourself before others. Don't put anyone above your peace of mind. If something wears you down more than it contributes, it's not worth it. And free yourself from guilt for prioritizing yourself. You don't owe your time or energy to anyone if someone gets upset. Because you put yourself first, that person was benefiting from your neglect of yourself. If you still doubt how prioritizing yourself can change your life, do this experiment for a week. Say no to something you really don't want to do without feeling guilty. Observe how people react when you stop being always available. Give yourself time alone without external interruptions. Reflect on how many times a day you act out of obligation instead of real desire. You'll see something surprising happens. Those who truly value you will respect your space and boundaries. Those who only wanted you for convenience will distance themselves, and that's exactly what you want. Because when you free yourself from relationships and situations that only drain you, you create space for what really deserves to be in your life. Someone pressures you to do something you don't want. Say, I don't care. They ask you to sacrifice your well-being to please others. I don't care. They make you feel guilty for taking care of yourself. I don't care. And most importantly, when you give yourself the value you deserve, the world gives it back to you. People who previously took you for granted suddenly feel they're losing you. Those who underestimated you start seeing you with different eyes. Opportunities that previously seemed unreachable start manifesting in your life. But there's an even higher level. You must reach a total transformation of your presence that will make the world perceive you in a completely different way. When a person becomes truly respected, their energy changes completely. They're no longer someone who begs, who chases, or who gets dragged along by what others want. They're someone who knows their worth and who isn't afraid to lose what doesn't suit them. People who have reached this level have developed a presence that is felt. It's not something you say, it's something you perceive. When you enter an environment, others can notice the difference. You don't need validation, you don't need approval, and that's why you suddenly start receiving more respect, more admiration, and more opportunities. Carl Jung spoke about the concept of individuation, the process of becoming a complete person without depending on the external world. When you reach this level, the way others perceive you changes radically. Think about it. Have you ever met someone who doesn't need anything from anyone, and for some reason, everyone wants to be close to that person? This happens because independence is attractive. When you're a person who sustains themselves, who doesn't beg for attention or affection, who doesn't despair when things don't go as expected, people stop taking you for granted. Those who previously ignored you start seeking you out. Opportunities arrive without you having to force them, and your presence becomes stronger without needing to say anything. Truly respected people don't have to prove anything. They don't seek to impress. They don't seek attention, but somehow they end up standing out. Why? Because self-confidence is magnetic. See the difference? Someone who seeks approval talks too much, tries to please, wants to be liked at all costs. Someone who is truly respected is simply present with a firm energy without the need to prove anything. And here's where our three magic words reach their maximum potential. Because when you say, I don't care, from this place of security and personal power, you're not saying it from fear, you're not saying it defensively, you're saying it from a deep conviction that your peace, your well-being, and your energy are sacred and not everyone has access to them. Reaching this level is one thing, maintaining it is another. To ensure you never go back to being a person others can manipulate, remember these three keys. Never put anyone above your peace. If someone makes you doubt your worth, that person doesn't deserve a place in your life. Don't explain or justify yourself. When you make a decision, stick to it. You don't have to convince anyone you're doing right, and surround yourself with people who also have this mentality. If you surround yourself with insecure people who depend on validation, it's a matter of time before they drag you back to that cycle. When you're truly respected, social dynamics change in your favor. People who previously ignored you now seek you out. Those who thought they could manipulate you now feel uncomfortable in your presence. Opportunities start arriving without you seeking them, because people detect the energy of someone who knows their worth. If you really want to ensure you never lose this mentality, do the following for a week. Observe who tries to get your attention and ask yourself if they really deserve it. Every time you feel the need to explain or justify yourself, stop and keep quiet. Eliminate any behavior that indicates desperation to be accepted, and every night reflect, did I act from security today or from the need for validation? When you finally reach this point, the world responds differently. People admire you, but don't understand exactly why. People start treating you with more respect, even without you doing anything. You feel a freedom you didn't have before, because you no longer need anything from anyone. Here's the difference. When you're someone who no longer needs approval, attention, or validation, you automatically become someone people seek. But to get here, you need to leave behind everything that once made you dependent on the external world, and that's what marks the difference between those who remain trapped by others' expectations and those who truly become unreachable. If you've made it this far, there's something you already know. Becoming a respected person isn't an act of arrogance, but an act of personal power. It's understanding that no one has the right to control, manipulate, or make you feel less than you are. It's taking command of your own life and establishing clear boundaries that no one can cross. People who have reached this level no longer play by others' rules. They don't seek approval. They don't ask permission to be who they are. And that's why the world treats them differently. Because when you don't chase, you become a magnet. When you don't beg, you become the prize. When you don't explain, you become a mystery. And mystery always attracts. Your presence changes. You stop being someone who can be ignored or taken for granted. Relationships that didn't add to you disappear. Only those who truly value your energy will remain. Opportunities come on their own, because security is magnetic, and people perceive this. You have peace of mind because you no longer wear yourself out trying to fit in or please everyone. But this isn't something that happens overnight. It's a decision you must make every day, every time you want to react impulsively, every time you feel the need to explain yourself, every time you doubt your worth. Remember, it's you who decides whether you continue being accessible or rise above all of this. Your challenge from today: leave the following declaration below to reaffirm your commitment to this change. I choose to say, I don't care to everything that doesn't add to me. My energy is valuable, and I protect it. Let the world know that you're no longer the same person who used to need validation or attention. You're someone who respects themselves, who prioritizes themselves, and who isn't afraid to say, I don't care, to what doesn't serve them. And if this video made you reflect, share it with someone you know needs to hear this. Sometimes a simple message can change a person's life. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to receive more content like this that will help you transform your life from the inside out. Because when you truly live from this place of personal power, you'll see how the world starts treating you the way you always deserve to be treated. Being respected isn't moving away from the world, it's getting closer to your best version.